Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Talk More. I'm your host, Matt Morrison. I should be getting a couple guests in here any moment. Here we go. We're all set to go here. I'm going to have head coach Joe Gabriel. Joe, thanks for popping in here. Head coach of Boardman. How are we doing today?
Good, Matt. Thanks for having me.
Yes, no problem. So let's just jump right on into it. What's pre-season like for you guys? What's going on? Like new players coming in, players returning, all that gossip. What's the news?
Yeah, we lost. We lost a lot of seniors that played a lot. We had a really good year last year with those guys, and so we'll be replacing a lot of seniors this year. There'll be some young guys. I think we'll definitely play some young guys at times, but we have a group of seniors again, though, that should. That I think will do really well.
That's good. Anybody that's caught your eye a little bit that like, hey, this guy can come in and fill that void of how many seniors were you losing? Yeah,
we're losing 7 starters.
Oh, geez, yeah.
So in terms of like young guys, like there's 2 sophomores, Grayson Eicher and Landon Whippo. We like those 2 guys a lot here early on, and then. We have our one back from the last couple of years in Gavin Hyde. So, that obviously helps.
So last year, what I see the record 17, 13, and 1. Did you guys have a tie?
Yeah, it was it got dark and we had to stop.
And geez. Oh, well, I guess that happens sometimes. But I mean, you played a lot of, tough teams last year. I see St. Ignatius and Canfield on here so I mean, you got some you guys had that strength of schedule last year to really test yourself. So looking at this year, well, what's that going to be like? Going in that same schedule I'm looking at. With but with those 7 seniors gone, how's that going to look?
Yeah, I mean the schedule is no different. I mean it's always hard. We believe that the harder the schedule is, the better you are by the end of the year. So St. Ignatius we open up with again this year. So that'll always be, that's always a good test right away. Canfield's in the conference, so always a good team there. And then I think we, I know St. Edward's is on there out of Cleveland. A couple Federal League teams, so it'll be a handful again. But I think some of these young guys and some of the a couple of the returning starters will, I think we can definitely ride them.
Yes, and it's really nice just to be like, hey, we had some guys lose. It's always next man up type of guy. You definitely like the guys you just mentioned. Like they seem like, hey, like they know their responsibilities. Let's go out. Let's get a job done. It's our turn now. Let's take our turn. Have you noticed that at all? Like, hey, no more, sleazing around. Let's get to work, right?
Yeah, definitely. I think a couple guys from last year that saw time as well that were sophomores or juniors last year are I think they're looking forward to taking that role where they have to be a bigger part. So like guys like Charlie Young, Marty Stakowitz, Adam Connorth, some guys like that played some on and off last year that is going to see a lot more time this year.
So now let's talk about like each position here. What card have you been dealt here, like at the pitcher position or, even your infield and your outfield?
Yeah, I would say we have some pitching depth. It's a little inexperienced besides Gavin, but there is depth there. So we'll see how far the pitching depth takes us. And then in terms of the infield, it's definitely going to be young, up the middle. Some guys that haven't played like Dylan Barrett. He's a junior this year. We do have 2 transfers that came in, DeJuan Reynolds and Ben Herman. So we'll rely on some of those guys too. And in the outfield, Marty Stakowitz, who I already mentioned, and then Adam Connorth, and then the young kid Landon Whippo. So we'll look to get a lot out of those guys, those younger guys, and see if we can get them more experienced a little.
Have you guys scrimmaged at all?
No, we actually do tonight. We actually scrimmaged tonight against Poland.
So, all right, that'll be a good test right there to scrimmage against Poland. To kind of see, like what I was saying, what kind of hand you've been dealt on, kind of shake that rust off. I've talked to a bunch of coaches before like, that's that first scrimmage that, just go out and play, do the best you can, just kind of get back into that baseball type of routine, honestly. So that's why I like the scrimmages part. It's kind of like you're a little bit of a spring training, because it takes a while. It takes a minute or so to get back fully into the routine, maybe even a couple games in the season. So you never judge anybody off like those first 3 games, especially with the teams that you're playing, St. Ignatius. I mean, yeah. So, but with this young team, you're gonna make your list, what things we need to work on and stuff. Have you made a list like that? Like, there's certain tweaks that we need to make already, or you still waiting for tonight?
Yeah, I think like you said, I think we'll use these. We have 4 scrimmages scheduled. We'll try and use all 4 scrimmages to make those lists and to see what we need to, what we need to focus on. Maybe where we're doing some things well, where we need to, where we obviously need to put some time in. So it's obviously like you said, baseball is a process, and it's a work in process early on in the season, especially. And I think at the end of the day, the goal is to be playing your best baseball by the end of the year.
Yes, most definitely. And, with the schedule you have, I mean, you're going to be right there. You're going to be doing the best you can in every game, because that other team has a very good resume on their hands. I mean, Canfield is, good every year, and, you have to face them a couple times a year. So it's something to look ahead for, like, hey, we got them coming up, we got to do this in particular, stuff like that. So it's kind of hard when you lose a lot of seniors like you did, but I mean, it happens to everybody. I mean, there's a lot of other teams that are going through the same process. So it happens. It happens. It really does. But, when a couple other questions for you, what kind of drills have you used? Like, with your young infield, have you moved them in closer? Have you backed them up farther? Anything like that? You're just hitting drills at them, like, hey, just get in front of the ball, right?
Yeah, Coach Barone does. One of my assistants, he does a great job he works with our infielders. He does a ton of drill work with them. A lot of stuff that's up close, like, right, they partner up, a lot of back and forth stuff, and a lot of repetition to get good habits done, get good habits to start the season. So Coach Barone does a great job with those guys.
Yes, most definitely. And, it's talking about your assistant coaches there. Like, it's nice to, like, kind of share the load a little bit, like, do you feel like that? Like, you got a couple coaches that, like, hey, they can work on this while I do this.
Oh, most definitely. I mean, Coach Mingo does a great job with our pitching staff. So I definitely don't, he's been here with us for 10 years, and he does an outstanding job. Coach Barone, same way. And we added Coach Conjemi this year, and he does a nice job as well.
Yes, and that's just awesome to have. But one more question for you or so. What are the goals and expectations for this year? Have you set the bar high, or are you just kind of keeping it mid-level?
No, I mean, every year we come in, we want to win the conference as a goal, and we want to make we need to find a way to get to a regional. We need to get out of districts. So that's been a monkey, I think, on our back for a long, long time. And that will always continue to be a goal.
Yes, and you guys have had a couple shots at it. Last year was kind of that year to do it. You lose all those guys, but it's just the same goal every year, and it doesn't matter who you have. It's you always have that shot at it. But yeah,
we feel like we have a standard here that hopefully all the people before me and the coaches before me had set, and hopefully we can keep it up there.
Yes, most definitely, Coach. I want to thank you for coming on here for a little bit and talking with me. Good luck on your scrimmage tonight, and as well in the season that's upcoming.
Thanks for having us, Matt. Appreciate your time.
Yeah. Yes, we'll have to bring you on here in the middle of the season or so to kind of get like a recap of what's going on.
Definitely.
But thank you, and we'll talk to you soon, all right?
Thank you so much.
All right, have a good day.
You too, Matt.
All right, before we get on to our next guest who's waiting patiently in the backstage, we'll get to him in just a second. We're going to take a very brief break, and we'll be right back here with more Talk More.
21 News delivers the news as it happens, using the latest technology from where it happens. on air, online,
Wednesday afternoon weather update.
Very dangerous.
and on the 21 News social media platforms.
I'm on the road right now.
21 News, the Valley's only locally owned source for trusted news since 1953.
As fine as the eye can see, the finest hardwoods from the finest trees. Made for your home and within your means, Baird Brothers will help fulfill your dreams. Let life and light come shining through in quiet morns. And heavy traffic, too. Find your easy-to-afford fine hardwood floors and doors and more at BairdBrothers.com.
Every customer has a story, and at Greenwood Chevrolet, we are committed to making sure it ends with you in the right vehicle. I get to be part of somebody's adventure, whether it's buying a car for the first time, helping them get approved, or finding the perfect car for their budget. I'm proud that people trust me with their finances. They trust me to take care of them, and they trust me with their story. I'm Tracy, and I'm ready to go the extra mile for you, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Welcome back. Let's bring our next guest in here right now. Let's welcome Rick Mullenix from West Branch. Coach, thanks for joining me today.
Thanks, Matt, having me. Can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you fine.
Right, we're good.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Pretty good. Just trying to get some people in here. The Niles coach came in just a little late, but yeah, that's why we had to push you back a little. But hopefully I'm not taking up too much of your time. But let's jump right on into things. So last year, not the best, but definitely not the worst. You guys were above 500. I feel like you had a lot of tough games on your schedule. Did you lose a lot of seniors from last year?
Yeah, I mean, we were pretty young last year as well. I mean, we had I want to say we started 3 seniors last year. But obviously we had some freshmen. We started two freshmen, 4 sophomores, a couple juniors. Sorry about that.
It's okay.
And I mean, but they were, Nick Wilson, can't replace Nick Wilson in athletic.
No.
He is.
I've heard about him.
Yeah, I mean, and like I said, I thought we had a pretty good year last year. I think we won 12 in a row actually at one point during the season.
Yeah.
But like this year's roster, it kind of was the unexpected last year, just with having basically 8 new starters on the varsity team. You kind of don't know what's going to happen. And we had some good runs. We had some bad runs, but I felt we put a good product on the field every game and competed, and that's what we try to do at West Branch, no matter what the situation is. I mean, we're extremely young. This is the youngest team I've ever had. We have 30 kids for varsity JV, and 24 of the 30 are freshmen and sophomores.
Well, you got a lot of options to go to, and you got a lot of guys that are definitely going to get better every day. I always like a team that has a lot of freshmen and sophomores on it, maybe a couple juniors, but you're going to have that team, and they're going to progress like as a group moving up. And by the time all those freshmen and sophomores are juniors and seniors, they're going to be right on the the right page. So does that something you feel like, hey, it'll pay off in the long run?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we have 2 seniors and 4 juniors, so pretty much this entire roster is back next year. Then you're losing 1 or 2 kids, and that's it. And you have everyone back. So I mean, the future is bright. But I feel we're going to be pretty competitive again this year. Last year I spoke about our schedule is not as strong as when you had Marlington and Canfield. The schedules that Marlington and Canfield have had in the past with the teams that they've had, we wanted to get to that schedule that they were able to compete against every year. I thought our schedule was medium to above medium, but I think we've increased it. Are we quite there yet? to that level, probably not. Hopefully next year, but like I said, I'm pretty excited with what we got. Looking forward to getting outside maybe. So.
Yep, I'm looking at your schedule now, and you got Ursuline on there and South Range, and as well as I see Salem on there as well. So I mean, those are some. They're in your league. Those are some tough teams right there. So I think like with that schedule, like you guys are pretty set. I mean,
we got Glen Oak and Louisville.
Yeah, I did see Glen Oak on there.
Yeah, Glen Oak, Louisville.
I think I just saw Streetsboro on there.
Who made it to the districts last year too. So like we try to give ourselves a good competitive schedule this year.
Yes, and that's the only way that you're going to get these young kids to to really see what the big picture is. Like get them out there to get them playing guys that they could potentially be at their same level. If you keep playing those tougher guys, those tougher teams, I mean you're eventually going to get there. I definitely believe that. But it's always a plan. It's always a plan. But have you guys scrimmaged at all?
Tonight's first one.
That's first one as well.
That's kind of our. Again, no one ever feels sorry for you, but that's kind of our weakness. Is we're, believe it or not, at West Branch. You think we'd have a turf football field because that's big, but we're the only ones in our conference that still has grass. In fact, there's not many schools that still have grass football fields, and so so when all these other schools are getting to practice on their field, we get a parking lot if it's still dry enough the kids aren't slipping on it. So we've actually only been on a field or playing surface twice all year.
Yes, and I always try and find ways not to bring them up because I talk about them a lot. But I cover Badger, and Badger's in the same position as you. They don't have turf; they play in grass, and I've actually seen them out, throwing in the parking lot and stuff, and that's what you got to do sometimes. And
it is what it is.
I actually remember one time where there was a lot of cars in the parking lot at one point, and they just kind of had to go in between the cars and stuff, like make it work. And people are like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Well, we got to practice." You got
to park at your own risk at West Branch, right?
Yeah, and at all those schools out there that have the grass field, and because the grass field, unlike the turf, the rain takes a bad effect on the grass rather than the turf, where it just soaks it up and it's dry within an hour or two.
Right.
So it's the conditions that you have to play in, and I think that makes teams a little bit more grittier and tougher. They'll play in any condition. So I really like that component too. But when you get the practice, it's
nothing like floating ground ball in a parking lot. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Get you ready.
And you guys get in the gym at all as well?
In the gym or the parking lot. That's our home right now.
The one downside from that is you can't get a lot of hitting drills in. Like you can't you can't get ground ball drills in a parking lot. The thing will bounce the heck out of there. So that's the one disadvantage. I feel like you can still throw and and catch out there, and you got the batting cages inside, but you want to, you at least want to get those ground ball. You want to get your infielders going. Have you guys worked on that at all? Have you found ways to do that?
It's just got to be creative, but our kids are extremely blessed with the talent of coaches that we have in our program. I'm very lucky. I have 9 assistant coaches, which is almost like a football staff. But
9 assistant coaches.
Yeah.
Wow.
And each of them specialize in a certain area. So we have 3 guys that are pitching coaches, 2 infield guys, 2 outfield guys, 2 catching guys. So when we split up, we can go and do our NDD, and I think we have 6 of the coaches played at the next level. 3 of them played past that. We have 3 coaches that actually coach at the college level, and we have over 150 years of coaching high school baseball. So our kids are in really good hands. We try to make up for the fact if we don't have the facilities, we can catch up in other ways. And that's, hopefully we're doing that.
Yes. Yeah, most definitely. 9, you talk about 9 assistant coaches, you really share the weight, and that's something amazing. That's something amazing to have, especially when you have a young team and you really need to rely on your other coaches. Like each coach will connect and, work on particular thing, like, pitching, outfield, infield,
Yep.
catchers, stuff like that? Do you have like all their coaches, like, you have specific guys, right?
Right. Yep.
So let's talk about that. What is your pitching rotation look? Do you have a lot of depth? Obviously it's going to be a couple of younger guys in there, or, I mean, you have what's the deal there? Do you have,
Well, we returned Bo Alzaz, who's a junior.
okay.
He was first team all conference last year. So he'll be our ace. Aaron Tucker is a junior left-hander. He'll be our number 2. And then our 3, 4, 5, 6 is going to be a combination of a few guys, but they've all had all of them besides Jeremiah Thomas, they all have varsity pitching experience. So 5 of them, coming back have thrown in a varsity baseball game. Because again, we were pretty young last year, so they had to get done there.
Yes. And, it's great. Like we were saying, pretty young, when you have that young team, they're going to get a lot of varsity play, and it really prepares them for that stage. And, you got a couple, like you said, you got a couple guys that you'll rotate in and out. You have guys that don't necessarily have to go a full game. You could split it with 2 guys, just to get them more time in. Is that what you're trying to do? Am I kind of close there?
Well, we've always been, very conscious of pitch count. I know that what the max is. I don't think we've had in the last 8 years, we've had one pitcher throw over 100 pitches in a game. We're usually 75, 80, and they're out. And obviously it's a feel, and then weather and strength, junior, senior versus a freshman. I mean, things like that, just to control them. It's just our philosophy. It's not winning. It's not worth winning a baseball game to injure a kid. And that's just never us. And we'll take a loss, even though it maybe shows no signs of fatigue and is having command. But if we feel that, hey, he's done his job, and then we get him out, and we put someone else in, and that's next man up to do his job.
Yes, most definitely. Let's move into this. What are your goals for specific players, or goals as a team, or even goals as a coach? Like, do you have different sets of ones, or you just have one specific goal?
Yeah, I mean, we haven't really even sat down. I think if you asked our kids what our goal was, I hope they all say the same thing. We want to be playing our best baseball in middle of May. We want to get better each week. And that's not like a cliche thing, but we don't have a poster in our locker room that says win the league, win 20 games.
Yeah.
If we play hard and do the things that we're taught in practice, and what happens. And as long as we're doing those things, then we're going to make mistakes. I know that. I mean, when you throw up this type, we're going to make some mistakes. But as long as we correct those and then get better, and we're playing our best baseball at the end of May, that's our goal.
And it's all right to make mistakes. Like you just said, you just got to make quick corrections to them. You can't prepare for the mistakes that you're going to make. They're going to happen without planning. That's usually how mistakes happen, but it's how quickly you recover from it that is what's going to be the outcome of that. And, with a young team, you're kind of prepared for it, but you're kind of not, you're kind of hoping a little bit all right, maybe let's, not make too many mistakes, but, it's the inevitable, honestly.
You guys cover West Branch, so the situation. We have a lot of, we have a lot of success in our athletic programs at West Branch. And over
absolutely.
We've had to play in the last 2 years, a lot of freshmen and sophomores have had to step up in big roles, whether it's baseball, soccer, basketball, football. And
they definitely have.
So I don't really think that they look at each other like, hey, we're 5 sophomores on they're used to that already. They've already been playing at that high level. And so their expectations to win. And that's why we don't really spend a lot of time talking about that stuff with our program. They know being at West Branch, your expectations is to win. So there's we don't have a lot of skull sessions talking about it.
That's awesome that you don't, because some teams do, and you guys definitely aren't one of those. But one final question for you, and we'll get you on your way. I know you're very busy, man. What's the what's the game plan just going into this to start this year? Is it being healthy? Like I know you said, just to start winning, or what do you got to do just to get your guys ready? That like I know there's going to be a lot of guys that are ready, but is there going to be anybody that's like they need to get here?
Yeah, I mean, I assume we're just like any other program. No matter no matter what year you coach, it seems like you always say, if we had one more player, if we had, it's every coach says that, every program, every single year. And I assume we're just like everyone else, where we feel that we have an idea in 80% of our spots where we're comfortable at, but then we got some competition for those other 2 spots, and trying to figure out who those guys are inside a gym and a parking lot is tough. So these scrimmages over the next week or 2 that we can get in, and it usually plays itself out. It's competition. I have great kids. They encourage each other, even though, because, they're competing for the same position in baseball, but in football, they play different positions and they're just teammates. And so there's not a jealousy factor or I hope my teammate doesn't do well, so I do better. That's just not part of the kids at West Branch's culture. And, like I said, we're just about like every other team that I'm sure that they got 1 or 2 guys they're trying to positions they're battling out and trying to figure out where do our best players at different positions fit what's best for us. And it might not be what's best for them, but it's best for the team that they're playing on currently this year.
Yes. And that's awesome. Like to say that. And, going back on the younger guys, all these guys know each other. Like you said, they're all friends, like you said, and the bond's already there and the trust is already there. So they're ready to go to war. Like they're ready to fight and win.
We put a ping pong table on our, I shouldn't say they put a ping pong table in the locker room, and we can't get them to go home.
So
they just want to hang out. And on Saturdays, we're there for 4 hours, and we have to stay 6 so they can play ping pong for an hour and a half and sing karaoke. And it's just, it's a great group of kids.
They like having fun.
They like having fun. But when practice comes, they like to practice. And, I had like 8 texts today. Are we scrimmaging today? We scrimmaging today? Because they're ready. They're ready to get out and start, getting ready for the league to start. We got league play in 2 weeks, so we got to get ready for that.
Well, I'm ready to see you guys perform this year. I'm ready. I'll be keeping an eye on you guys. Maybe I can come up and do a game as well. But we'll have to have you come back on during the middle of the season to see what's going on. We'll talk about more, what needs to be done, and what has been done.
Anytime.
But Coach, thanks for coming on here and talking with me. All right, have a good day.
All right, you too. Thanks, Matt.
All right. Let's go ahead and go right on in. We're going to bring our next guest on here. Welcome, Western Reserve head coach Jake. How are you?
Hey, good, Matt. How are you?
Pretty good. Just clicking away here. Thanks for joining in with me. Let's jump right into things. What's the deal here? What's going on? What's the news? Losing seniors, got a lot of young guys coming in like West Branch has, or you losing a lot of guys like Boardman is.
Yeah, so we're pretty young. It's kind of a weird mix. I feel like we have a lot of experience because we had a lot of freshmen and sophomores that played quite a bit for us last year. But we're primarily a freshman, sophomore, heavy team again this year. Only 2 seniors on the roster. Neither of them really have a whole lot of experience. The juniors that we have been playing now for 3 years. This will be their some of them their 3rd year as starters or heavy rotation guys. Good, strong group of sophomores, a couple good freshmen that I think will be able to help us right away, and going to have to help us right away. So it's kind of a mix. I feel like there's some experience there, but not, junior, not senior led experience.
Okay,
if that makes sense. So,
like you said, you had a lot of juniors.
We've got about 4 or 5 juniors.
Okay,
three of them have played and have been part of
the team
our last success. Our last year we were down a little bit. The year prior, which would have been, I guess, spring of 2021, was kind of the last team that we had that made a little bit of a postseason run. We played in the district finals that year, lost to Matthews. So those juniors were freshmen on that team. Some of them got into the mix and played a little bit that year. So they have some of that, big game postseason experience, a little bit. And then, like I said, last year, we were in the same boat last year as we kind of are this year, where we didn't have, a ton of seniors. We had two of our graduating seniors, two or three of them from last year were, pretty regular starters, players over the course of their career. So it definitely hurts to lose them, but just not huge numbers. 3 or 4 guys.
You just got to fill small gaps. Like you said,
if I can get anywhere from 5 to 7 guys per grade level out here, because our numbers in our high school are down a little bit.
Yeah.
If I can get 5 to 7 per grade level, I think we're doing pretty good. And that's about where we are in our freshman, sophomore, junior classes. So, the senior class is down a little bit number wise, which kind of puts us a little behind the 8 ball, but it also gives young guys an opportunity to jump right in and get thrown right into the mix.
Right into the fire pit, go on, get in there and play, And I like those younger players that get that chance to play. Like I was just talking with West Branch coach, they got a lot of those younger guys coming in, but they've been together, so they have that trust. Do you guys feel like you have that trust as well? Like you said, you had a lot of guys playing with each other since they were freshmen, so they can rely on each other,
Yeah. And like I said, they've been together. Most of them play multiple sports. We got a couple weeks ago that came from basketball. Most of the guys on the team do play football. So they've been around each other. They've kind of been in some of those, some of those dog fights and some of that competition with each other. So I think they've grown up together. They're pretty much all guys that are from here and from Berlin Center and have been in school together, their whole lives. So, finally starting to kind of put the pieces together and like you said, I think they can trust each other and they kind of know what each other are capable of.
So let's move into, the positions here. What depth do you have at like each position? You have a lot of guys that can float around at all, like pitching, and then you can go out and play outfield or infield.
Yeah, so we do have a lot of guys that do multiple things.
Utility guys.
I think if you had to pick a strength for us this year, it would be our pitching depth. I don't know if we have a stud guy that's going to go up there and shut a team down day in and day out that you can rely on all the time. But I think we got about 4 or 5 guys that are all pretty solid options. And, we've got five pitchers back from last year that all pitched at least 10 innings last year. So, that 10 innings might not seem like a lot, but with the weather the way it was last year, we only played 20
it's horrible.
games.
It's horrible.
We only played 20 games last year. So, really having 5 guys that all got that experience last year, and we're going to kind of count on this year. And then, we got some young guys that have come in that are going to, jump right in there into the rotation. So I think our pitching depth is pretty good. Other than that, we got a lot of corner infielders and a handful of outfielders, little thin in the middle, not a whole lot of depth, middle infielders. So we have to kind of shuffle things, when this guy goes to pitch, when Evan goes to pitch, Chris needs to come in and play shortstop from the outfield, and we need to rotate somebody in over there or bounce somebody to third. So we got everybody. Pretty much all of our starters are pitchers also. So we kind of have a little rotation, and the group of guys just kind of rotate around and bounce between infield positions and outfield positions. And I think especially at a small school, I think that's how the majority of people probably have to deal with it. Love to be able to have 3 or 4 POs that's all they do, and they get up there and pitch and don't have to mess with the defense a whole lot. But that's not the not the hand we've been dealt, obviously. So.
But it's that way sometimes, and the way you were talking, it's good to have a plan. Like when he pitches, he has to come and play shortstop and stuff like that. So it's always good to have that planned out. And even when they like if somebody has to come in relief, you can always go to that. So you have a lot of guys that can come in and finish the game for you if your starter can't go the whole way, or even if you have to put two or three guys in the pitch. Yeah, you have a couple options like you were saying. So how about we move to the catcher position? How's that looking? You got a couple guys in your lineup. How they doing with the throw off the second or stuff like that?
Yeah, so we've got Connor Jones is back this year catching for us. He's a sophomore. He was kind of thrown right into things last year as a freshman. Our senior catcher last year, Jacob Buckman that we had, he got sick at the beginning of the year and he missed the first several weeks of the season. So we kind of threw Connor right into the fire, and he does a really good job. With all the little things, the receiving and the blocking, and his bat came on as the year went on. So I'm really excited to have him in there and kind of have a guy. He's still young. He's only a sophomore. He's only played a handful of games, but I feel like he's experienced. I feel like he can kind of take charge back there, and when he's back there, I don't worry too much about some of those little things with pass balls and things getting away from us. So that's nice to have. Other than him, it's going to be probably a mix of 3 freshmen that we're rotating in there to try to find someone to give him some relief at times. So not a whole lot of depth behind him, but we got some guys that we're working on, and are definitely going to have to mix in there and figure out what works.
Yes. And, I like how I'm really glad you mentioned, the guy that can do the little things. It's always great to have somebody on your team that's like, all right, all the little things are taken care of, like you said, pass balls. And, like if somebody takes off, he has a pretty good shot to getting it out there. And it's the little things that win you a lot of games. It's not,
absolutely.
Like the big things you got to pay attention to, like, your starting pitcher, the other team, what guy can come up and hit and what strategy you're going to use against them. Those are the big things that you have to pay attention to that. But it's the little things that really people don't pay a lot of attention to, and you really need to, because it's usually like I see teams that take care of all the big things, and it's that one little thing that just loses a game, right, or something bad happens.
Yeah, definitely makes a big deal.
Yes. So moving on though, out of that catcher position, what's the one guy that has that, that competitive edge that will come in and just be like, hey, it's my game to win or lose. Like if I don't do, like it's all on his shoulders per se. Yeah. Like he feels like it's his job to keep everybody contained. Like you have your coaches there to keep everybody contained, but you actually have to have somebody on the field, like monitoring. Do you look to somebody like that?
Yeah, we got a few guys that kind of take on that role. Like I said, it is kind of interesting because it's with the way our team's set up, it's not necessarily an older guy. We got a couple juniors that are kind of in there that no one's the real really a vocal leader in terms of that goes, but we got several guys that are always there doing the right things. With our junior group, Brock Wellman, he's one of the ones that I mentioned that kind of was part of that 2021 team as a freshman, and he just kind of got a late start coming over from basketball this year, but he's baseball all the time, when he can be, and is always looking to get extra work. He's going to probably play more middle infield for us this year. Kind of started out as an outfielder, and we kind of transitioned him last year just because of need, and he's done a really good job. So it's nice to have the flexibility, like I said earlier, to say, I feel comfortable throwing him in the outfield if we need a body out there, but at the same time, he's doing a pretty good job at second base for us. Evan Slavin, one of our sophomores, he's a hard worker. he's whether it's lifting for football or lifting for baseball and putting in extra work, extra time, getting extra swings in after practice. He's one that is always really getting after it. Looking to for big things for him this year. He was sick for the last couple of weeks and kind of had a slow start. So we're hoping that he can kind of jump right back into form and keep going.
Okay. So you have a couple of guys that you kind of hold that on, and it's good to have at least one or two guys so like they can share it together. And that really, those two guys are probably best friends, probably, right?
Yeah. They're different grades. They're one's a sophomore, one's a junior, but everybody. Pretty much everybody's friends with everybody. So
sweet. And that's the way to be, I know he's not really the guy to boss people around. You go here and you do that. It's like, hey, it's okay. Let's get it next time. That type of guy. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. We don't really have, when you look at the dynamic and different personalities, we don't really have like I said, like a vocal guy, like you said, gonna, get on guys, boss guys around, so the coaches got to do a little bit more of that. But hopefully some of these guys, as they get a little bit older and get a little bit more comfortable, they kind of grow into that role.
Mm-hmm. So what's the big expectation for this year? You got the bar set high or kind of, or kind of low even, or in that gray area?
The expectation is always, I heard Coach Mullinex say it there at the end. The expectation is to hopefully be playing your best baseball at the end of the season when it really matters. We're young. We're coming off of a 4-win season. So last year was rough, and between that and the weather and not really being able to get a lot of continuity early on in the season, all those games are important. We're going tonight over to Austintown for a scrimmage, get out on the turf.
Is it your first scrimmage?
It'll be our first time on a
field. A lot of people getting their first scrimmages out today.
Yeah, so you got, I don't know if you'd say it's warm, but 50s is warmer than it has been. So,
yeah. I mean, it's better than playing yesterday. As mentioned, if you had to play yesterday.
So, even yesterday, we were fortunate enough to have a pretty big parking lot that we can set some stuff up in. So, that's been our field for the last month is anytime we can get out into the parking lot. So
I like those. I'm gonna start just having to call teams the parking lot teams because that's their field. But hey, that's wherever you got to get stuff done, whatever it takes, right?
Absolutely, yeah. So we're going there tonight and get on the field for the first time, and hopefully next week pick up another one. And we open up on the 27th with Minnow Ridge, which is a league game. So we don't really have the opportunity. It's not like football where you get a couple weeks to kind of ease into the league and go from there. And with basketball, kind of schedule some non-league games early. With the baseball season, it's tough. We got four games a week scheduled, so not counting rainouts and makeups and moving things around. And so we're going to jump right into it here in a couple weeks.
Yes, most definitely. But Coach, I want to thank you for coming on here and talking to me. Good luck to you and your team throughout the season. We'll have to bring you on kind of in that middle point to see what's going on, get the big scoop then. But Coach, thanks for coming on once again here.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
All right. Good luck to you.
All right. Thanks, Matt.
Well, final 15 minutes of the show here. We're going to add one of our own here. Dom O'Brien's coming onto the stream. How we doing?
Oh, we're doing good, man.
Good. I know you're at work, so I saw you answering the phone a couple of times. Like, oh no.
No, I just had to make a quick. I had to respond to a quick call, but we're in here. We're here for the show. I'm happy to be here, Matt.
Sweet. So you'll be covering JFK again for baseball, right? One heck of a team they got there. I'm gonna try and get their coach on next week. I know. I don't know if they did it last year. I know the year before they'd won state. So last year, one tough team as well. So what's this year looking at? Have you been keeping up with them? You've been in contact with them at all?
So it's interesting because one of the lead players on the team, Caleb Hadley, he is focused more on this upcoming baseball season. So definitely expect him. He's also a representative over in Class B baseball as well. But expect him to be implementing a bigger aspect of this year's season.
Mm-hmm.
You have a lot of people that are going to step up like him, such as Michael Condolian and Aiden Rossi and Jay Kettrick. You have the past seniors. You have 3 seniors that left last season. So obviously coming off of a tough loss against Glenville,
Yeah.
it was, it was by 1 run. It could have been taken either here, either there. It's just something that you have to kind of get a feel for as the beginning of the season begins. Whether it be, the opening matchups like they had with Ursuline. They had Ursuline as one of their opening matchups last season. That kind of set the gauge as to where they are as a baseball team. But you also want to see who's going to step up into those roles that the previous seniors filled, such as they had Alex DeSalvo, they had Michael Morrow, both really good players on that team.
DeSalvo was like, whoa. Like I watched a couple of games. I'm like, man, he needs to come over to Badger. Like they need Badger just needs one player like that. We'll be golden. So I like we got that in basketball with Duncan, but we need somebody. I mean, they got some good players, but I mean, you need that one golden guy. And a team like Warren JFK, like they have a bunch to go to. Guys like DeSalvo, and even guys on their team this year. So it's. Every year it's like, the cream of the crop, whoever's on their team,
Yeah,
So,
you really look at that state championship team that they had.
Yeah.
And the freshman Michael Condolian at that time, now he's a junior. So and then they also had Cam Hollabaugh during that time. They had a lot of great players in that. And they're just trying to rebuild their squad and rebuild a better team.
Yes. So what's it been like calling Warren JFK? I know you went there, right?
Yes. So it's been really it's been different because
you've been calling for us for how many years now? Is this 1 or 2?
This is coming into my 3rd year now.
Third year now.
It will be my 3rd at the end of in the middle of basketball season in 2023.
I'm getting there too. It'll be September 11th will be the 3rd year anniversary for me. So we're getting there, man. We're getting up there. So
it's very fun. I'll tell you that right now. When I look back, I often look back at a lot of games that I've covered, whether it be my first game I covered where it was Kennedy versus Ursuline in basketball, or if it's the game that I just covered last night. I just covered the All-Star game down at Harding. So
yes, what was it? The
Frank Bubba.
Yeah, the Frank Bubba All-Star game. I actually called the NAC All-Star game Tuesday, and a lot of them were asking, Matt, you going to this one? I'm like, no, I think they were going to send you. That's your area, Warren. And a couple of Badger players were there last night, so you got to see them. How was that like?
It was really fun. That was the definition of fun. That was so enjoyable.
I love calling All-Star games. Did they have a 3-point contest?
Yeah, they did. There was Austin Rowe who won the 3-point contest on the men's side. He nailed 20 out of 25 3-pointers. So it was something awesome. I got to watch that replay back because me and Ty Bartell, we were going crazy.
Oh, I'm sure, man. I'm sure. But it's awesome to go out and call those All-Star games. And, we got our own All-Star game coming up. I think you're working that, aren't you?
Yep.
I unfortunately won't be there. I got a prior obligation to attend to, but I mean, I'm helping them plan it out. It's gonna be fun. This is the first year at Beagley too, so it's gonna be awesome there. And what's it been like working at YSN and is calling your school? Like I tell you what, my first game that I called Badger, I was nervous as can be because this was the first time I've been at that school since I graduated. I haven't been back, so that was like 4 or 5 years since I've been back. So it was so nervous. I didn't have, and things weren't working. It was a girls' game, and I don't even think I called the whole game. My equipment wasn't working. Like everything had to go wrong. So, but from that point on, it's been a memory. Has it been that way for you and JFK? Like, what was your first game back like? Did you have jitters or anything like that?
Well, it was fun. I mean, here's the thing. When I first started in that Ursuline game, obviously I was still a senior in high school. I was still a senior at that school.
Okay.
So, I had a little bit of a different experience, but, coming in there to a very familiar gym and going up in the crow's nest and the eagle's nest, if you will. And going up there and covering a game, it was just surreal. And I just spoke to you about how I look back at that game. But, like I look back at the game, like, oh my gosh, I sound like I'm swallowing air the entire time. I don't know, like when I compare, it just shows how much that I think that I have improved as a
Yeah.
broadcaster,
Oh yeah.
and it shows how comfortable I've gotten to be. And shout out Richie Giuliano, who's going to cover the
Absolutely.
minor leagues. He's the one that guided me through that broadcast. He's the one that, you know, helped me be confident in what I'm saying and how to say it, and taught me how to do these certain things, and hell, even to set up the equipment. I
Yeah.
mean, you know, that was a task in of itself at the time. But
Oh my
I've
goodness.
learned to
Yeah.
become so familiar with everybody. I've learned to just put myself out there and become a people person and become friends with every athletic director I meet.
Oh gosh, yes.
It's really, really been a very enjoyable experience, and that's the number one word, is
Yeah.
experience. Because
Yeah.
my goodness, it has put so much experience under my belt to cover a game, whether it be football, basketball,
Yeah.
or the upcoming baseball season.
Yeah.
It's really, really awesome.
Yes, it really is. And, you know, hats off to Richie too. Richie, he told me a couple of things here. Now, he didn't guide me as much as you did, but I mean, he was the one that brought up YSN and why I applied to go work for YSN. So like, he was, you know, one of the reasons why I joined YSN. Like, hey, Richie,
Right.
you know, look what Richie's doing. You know, I want to go do this. Like, he inspires a lot of people, and, you know, to see him moving on, it's sad, but, you know, it's also really great opportunity for him as well. Like, to go down to Tennessee, and you know, I watched the episode where he went on with DJ and talked to him, and, you know, as his exiting type of episode. And there's another one as well. DJ Oakley has been a huge inspiration as well. He's kind of given me the business savvy type of things, you know, like, you know, me getting sponsors and stuff ready for my show and stuff. So it's all learning process from everybody, and, you know, you're going to learn something different from everybody else. And, you know, that's what's great about YSN. And, you know, it's also cool that, you know, you get to go to your old school. Like, when I learned that Badger got picked up, like, you know, like, oh my gosh, I was so excited. Like, all right, I got it. They didn't even know who they were gonna send down there. They're like, who are we gonna send there? Because it's all the way out in the middle of nowhere. I'm like, guys, I went there. I'm 2 minutes down the road. So I kind of like saved a lot of people's, you know, a lot of people's travels. So, but calling a big school like Warren, JFK, you know, you get a thrill at every sport. You football, basketball, and baseball, even softball. Even I'm sure you've called softball and volleyball, right?
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
what sport do you really look forward? Like, I'm not gonna put you on the spot and be like, "What's your favorite?" But what sport do you really, really enjoy and really look forward to doing? Is it all of them, or is one in particular?
Well, I really, like you said, I look forward to do a lot of the games, whether it's, you know, it's just me representing the school. You know,
Yes.
I really, really enjoy that. But I'll tell you what I get the most enjoyment out of is simply, it doesn't specify any sport. It's more so playoff atmosphere. Once you get to the playoffs, it's just a different tale. I mean, it's really like all hands on deck. Like, everybody's putting forth their best effort.
Yes.
I tell you, it really gets electric during football and basketball
Oh, yeah.
season, that because they're so close together that it's almost like they kind of intertwine. When the football season ends, the basketball season is starting up immediately. So it's really fun to go from that playoff atmosphere with football and then transition into the regular season in basketball. And then once the playoffs come in basketball, then there's so many games across the board that can be covered. It's really, I don't know. It's just really fun. I do
It's
enjoy.
fun, but
I
it
have
gets
enjoyed
to your
this
head a
basketball.
little. It's fun, but it gets
Yeah.
in your head just a little. Like, oh God, I gotta go do this and this. I got a
Yeah.
game at 5. I gotta drive there. You know, I like driving. You know, I like going to the games. I don't complain about that, but you have to set some things aside before you go. Like, there's
For sure.
planning up to it, and, you know, what you have to do to, you know, game prep and stuff like that. With Badger, like, I go in and I already know a lot of the stuff. You know, like you said, you have good relationships with the coaches and stuff like that. The athletic director, you know, I went out with him and stuff. So it's, you know, it's like you said, you're part of their team, you know, and when you're with them for like 2 or 3 years, like you really feel part of their team because you're moving up with them, you know, and when they lose, it's like, man, like you're angry, you want to throw something. when they win, you know, it's awesome. You're partying with them, you're celebrating with them. You know, I've celebrated a lot of moments, you know, with both girls and the boys team. I've, you know, really feel like I've become a part of their family even more, even though I went there. But it's definitely a great opportunity to call the school that you went to. Have you
For sure.
So have you felt like you've been a part of their family? Like like you're incorporated, like, you know, like when they lose, it's like, oh man, like I lost too, you know?
I think that's just the way Warren JFK is. Their
It is.
motto is "We are Kennedy, we are family." And I graduated in 2020, and I still feel like I walk the halls at that school.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really awesome how friendly everybody has been since I graduated, and how nice everybody's welcomed me into their open arms to, still be there and help them out with covering games. And even if I'm not covering a Warren JFK game, maybe,
Yeah.
for example, me and Ty, we're covering Archbishop Hoban that's going
Yeah.
down to the state semifinals.
Yeah.
So I've still gotten a lot of support saying, "Hey, that's going to be fun. We're going to watch, or
Yeah.
we're going to listen rather, because we'll be audible, or it'll
Yeah.
just be an audio call." But it's just so awesome to see how much support that we've gained over the course of the years, and I really have to thank the whole Kennedy family. I mean, it's just been awesome.
Yes, absolutely. And like you said, it's awesome calling other teams too. You know, I've called Mineral Ridge, Brookfield. I've, done Ursuline games before. You know, I've talked I've had a lot of people come on here and talk with me. And I feel like the teams that I haven't called, like I build something with that coach or player by bringing them on to the show. And, it's awesome to bring broadcasters on here as well. Like you yourself, and I had Noah Doty come on here as well. He does a great job. And I even had Noah Ricks come on here as well. He does a great job with Howland. But
shout out, by the way, to Noah Ricks for when I wasn't
awesome.
able to do Kennedy games. He was able to fill in and do a great job.
Yeah.
Shout out to him. He's a great broadcaster. I love that guy.
Oh, he's awesome. I've known him for a little bit. One of my good friends is closer to him than I am. So I kind of, I get my version of Noah through him. Like I hang out with Noah through him. So it's awesome to connect with the other people that you work with, and it's awesome to rely on other people. Like you said, he filled in for you, and I filled in for Ty Bartell when they went to Vegas. I went and called Fitch's game. So it's good to have it that everybody has their own backs. Like everybody has everybody's backs. But it looks like you're going back to work.
No, you're good. You're good.
We're finishing up here anyways. You can get back to work. But thanks again, Dom, for coming on here. We'll have to bring you on here another time as well, just to talk shop.
Yeah, for sure.
Honestly. And but thanks again, and we'll see you later. All right.
Yeah, absolutely. Have a good one, man. Thank you.
Yep. But I want to thank Dom and everybody else for coming on here and talking with me. That's going to wrap up everything here for another episode of Talk More with me, of course, Matt Morrison. I also want to thank Family Tree Trimming for their recent sponsorship of my show. It's been awesome to get my first sponsorship, and I'm glad it came from them. And if you ever need your trees trimmed or anything like that, give them a call. The logo will be right up here in this top right corner. And we'll hopefully be getting them some more customers. But thank you for everybody tuning in here. And we'll see y'all back here on Monday on Talk More with me, Matt Morrison. Have a good day, everybody.